Okay, so now I'm going to do my inner thigh, and I actually have some cornstarch here just to use to just do a little light dusting of the area to protect the skin. You can use this all over your legs, but for me, just like I'm a little more sensitive on the inner thigh, so it just kind of helps cut down on some of the sensitivity in the skin. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a fresh piece of sugar out. And I haven't warmed my sugar up again, so this is, you know, I can tell it's getting just a little bit firmer, but still it does have a warm sensation to it, and it is going on nice and smooth. This is the medium soft sugar, which is good for doing the larger body areas like legs and arms. Especially when there are like finer hairs or like medium to fine hairs. The medium soft will pick up those hairs nicely, a little bit better than the firm sugar would. But you do want to know how to do this paste method, preferably before you start working with the medium soft, just because it is softer and it'll melt faster, so when you're first learning it can be more technically challenging. So I always recommend people start with the firm sugar, kind of learn the technique, then maybe advance to the medium firm, then try the medium, just kind of work their way up to the softer sugars. And if you own a salon and you're interested in doing sugaring in the salon, you eventually do want to use a softer sugar, especially on large areas, because you will notice you'll go through a lot less product. So that's one big reason to get comfortable with the softer sugars. So one of the questions I get quite often with the sugaring is, does it hurt? And so I just figured I'd address that, and you know, I have so many different answers for it, and I always kind of answer it a little bit different every time because it really does depend on so many different factors. But just in general, yes, it does hurt because the hair is getting pulled out. So that's really the sensation that you feel. But on a hurt pain, like on a hurt chart, I guess, like a scale to 1 to 10, sugaring is in general going to be less painful than waxing because it does not pull on the skin as much. It doesn't really stick to live skin cells like wax can. It just sticks to the dead skin cells, so it does exfoliate, but it doesn't leave your skin feeling raw and sore afterwards like the waxing does, because it just doesn't have the aggressive stickiness to it that some of the waxes do. So that's sort of the general answer. But I mean, probably the best advice is just to try it out and see how it is for you. But just keep in mind that the sugar can feel different depending on the type of sugar that's used, the brand of sugar that's used, the technique being used, and of course the person doing it, their experience level, and their technique. You know, some people are really experienced, but they might not be as empathetic with their technique, and so they, you know, it might hurt when the sugar's going on because they're going too fast. Maybe they are just doing it really fast and not in a gentle, delicate manner. So, you know, even people that have a lot of experience sometimes can hurt you more than necessary. And kind of the funny thing that you might see a lot of times in like funny shows and stuff, they bring out the waxing lady, and she's like this big Russian woman, and you can tell it's going to be like a very painful experience just because of her personality and just her attitude of like come back and get sugared, and they don't really care if it hurts you or not. So, you know, even if someone like that was to do your sugaring and they've been doing it for 25 years, it still may be more painful than necessary compared to someone who's only been doing it 1 year, just because that person may not be putting in the care, that TLC that can really make a difference with how it feels. So you can kind of tell with my technique, just how I sugar myself, that it's just more gentle. I'm not speeding through. I'm sensitive to how it feels. Of course I am doing myself, so you know, I can actually feel when it's starting to hurt in different spots. So I'm just more careful to like slow down and just take my time. Do smaller sections on more sensitive areas. That'll cut down some of the pain compared to just doing a huge area on a really sensitive spot. Usually it, at least in my opinion, it kind of cuts down on the pain to just do a smaller section at a time, and rather than just ripping off a huge chunk. Okay, so that whole inner thigh is done, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to the other inner thigh.